So the Battlefield 6 beta is officially over. I have no clue if we're going to get another Battlefield beta before its release in October, but the one thing we do know is that, at least for now, the Battlefield 6 beta is over. And I played a decent amount of this game, and I'll tell you this, I'm loving everything I've seen in the game. Now, I know there's concerns about the rush mode. I know there's a lot of little here and there concerns about things that are going on. And I'm not saying that those concerns do not matter because they do. And I think, especially really hardcore fans of the series, if they like it better with the classes locked, right? The weapons locked to the classes, if they like it better with your more typical rush mode and all of those things we've heard the complaints for, those are things that they simply put, the developers have to keep in mind and they have to make changes, right? Because these are things your player base are telling you that they don't like. And so those changes are certainly had to be made. But it didn't really impact the player counts for Battlefield 6 or the overall kind of love for the game that people saw or people had. And I think it is important to note that this is not the full game. I think it's one of these things where we have to be very careful when we're criticizing a beta, even though you're supposed to be giving criticism so they can fix things, but you have to be careful of taking that criticism a little bit too far because we still don't have the game, right? So there's certain things you can criticize like glitches and stuff like that, or even the version of the rush mode that people were criticizing, because there is a level of those things are fixable, so get those fixed. But we got to remember that there's still an entire game that's going to be released, and so we haven't played that yet, right? Bottom line is Battlefield 6, we only got the beta, although we did get some good modes. And I've kind of used this singular line, and it almost feels a little bit like a talking point at this point. But I just felt, and I think this tells you everything you need to know about the beta, that I was playing Battlefield 3 again. And I'm not saying that even because of the gameplay. I'm saying that because of the fun factor that I had with it. It was amazing to me that I'm always one of these people that I start using a gun, I fall in love with it, and I'm just using that gun. And usually it's the LMGs. But because you could rank up individual weapons, I said, listen, I'm going to change guns just to try them out. And I started trying out all the different weapons I could in the game. And of course, there's a few, like I'm not really great with the sniper rifles and things like that, but there are so many great weapons in this thing that I was using. And I never felt like, you know what, I have to use this gun or it's like I can't play. I even in like the old Call of Duties, as much as I love them, there was always like a few weapons that you're like, I have to use these. Like if I don't use these, I'm not going to be able to be good in any way, shape, or form, or it's going to be a lot tougher. And it's not to say that when we get the full game, that's not going to be the case. It's not to say that there aren't good and bad weapons in the beta. That's just going to happen in every game. But it just felt like I had a wide variety of weapons that I could actually use, right? From the LMGs to the ARs to the more sub machine guns, and that was exciting. I felt like the entire vibe of the game, right? The ambiance, the theme, everything about it really was like, yep, this is exactly the style of game that I want to play. The destructible, really buildings. I mean, everything. Like every time you're playing, you just felt like you were in a war zone. You felt like you could make decisions like, okay, let's do this, and it works. Like one of my favorite moments was I was playing. I think it was it Conquest? It might have been Conquest, but I was basically watching over one of the positions, and I was in this building that the roof had been taken out. Like it was like a two-story thing, and it was like the top floor is basically taken out. And so I'm just sitting there, kind of in the ruins of this, as a tank is rolling up on the position. And I was the recon class, and I was able to use, because I was laying prone, I quickly threw a few C4 on the thing, and I blew up a tank that was out of position. It was just moments like that of, I can't replay that, and like you can't make that happen again, right? It was the perfect mix of how, like, had the front wall been there, I would have had to go through the door, and I would have, like there's so many little things that would have changed it, but because of how the destructible cover worked and all of that stuff, I was able to make it happen. And there's just so many little examples of that all throughout the game, and that to me was the takeaway. like there wasn't a ton of challenges, right? I mean, there were challenges, there wasn't a ton of them. I do think the challenges in the second go around were much better than the first, just because I didn't love, like, I felt like I was kind of almost cheating a little when I was doing like the engineer challenge and I'm just sitting in a tank and then I get out of the tank to fix it. It's just like I wasn't playing naturally, right? Which I think you would, I feel like they could have made it like just play X amount of hours with said class or something like that. And that would have been a better way to do it. But either way, I enjoyed my time so much. And I'm really excited for the release of this game. Now, I'm not saying, just like I said, we got to be careful of criticizing the beta too much. You also got to be careful with the praise of the beta because we still don't have the full game. And really, what's going to matter with this is once it launches, okay, how good is it? And then after launch, what's the roadmap like? How are they going to keep people playing this game? And if it's anything like the old games, just the sheer fun factor will keep them there. But it's important that they don't go down a route that changes what makes it so great. And I'm just pumped that we're getting this game. It's about, as look, I was a big fan of X Defiant, and just kind of seeing how that I felt started out so well, and then kind of really, kind of the buzz just went out of it. And, now we know a lot of that probably had to do with Ubisoft and other things, but just seeing how that game could have been so much, I feel like Battlefield has that chance to really be, that shooter, that online military shooter that we love and we want to play. It's there, right there. All I know is from the beta, there's a foundation for that game, and we just need it to happen. So thank you all for watching, and we will see you next time.